online lecture. Today we have our great honor to have Professor Fakhruddin Majari Manggojaya from Indonesia to give a talk on Islamic environmentalism or Islamic action toward climate change, titled "The Last Generation: Muslim Actions and Contribution to Mitigating Impact of Climate Change." So our speaker today, Dr. Fakhruddin, is a famous Islamic environmentalist and author and senior lecturer at the School of Graduate Program Universitas Nasional. So I guess that is National University of Indonesia. And he's also chairman Center for Islamic Studies of the same university, and also fellow at the Climate Leader Presenter. He has been visiting fellow in the Institute of Islamic Understanding in Malaysia, and also in many other places. He graduated from the Faculty of Biology at the university he's working now in Jakarta. So you can tell he's a proper scientist, bioscientist, and he also has a master's degree in conservation biology at the University of Indonesia and a PhD from postgraduate program of environmental management and natural resources from Bogor Agricultural University. So his education background clearly indicates that he has expertise both from environmental sciences and biology and even the management. And because I think he's also a position as a director of Islamic centers, we hope to hear from him the perspective, especially Islamic perspective or Muslim perspective on environmentalism and climate change. Speaking of the climate change, it is a big thing, I think, right? Now, we just finished the COP27 in Sharm el-Sheikh, Egypt. In fact, Dr. Fakhruddin was part of this program. He was invited to give a talk there. And next year, the COP28 will also going to be held in a Muslim country in the United Arab Emirates. So it is really high time and right time and good time to have an expert like Dr. Fakhruddin to give a lecture on this important and also very crucial and hotly debated topic on climate change. So what Muslims, and either as a woman or as an individual, they can do to respond to this climate change impact and what they can contribute. By the way, Dr. Fakhruddin also had just written a book called The Last Generation, which he would talk about that also in this show. So let's welcome Dr. Fakhruddin to give us a lecture called The Last Generation: Muslims' Action and Contribution to Mediate Climate Change. Dr. Fakhruddin.
Terima kasih. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin wassalatu wassalamu ala asrafil anbiya'i wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Allahumma salli ala sayyidina Muhammad wa ala ali sayyidina Muhammad. Subhanaka la ilma lana illa ma 'allamtana innaka antal alimul hakim. Wa la haula wa la quwwata illa billahil aliyyil azim. Fellow the Muslim community, World Muslim Community Council, thank you very much for Dr. Chai for inviting me again. This is the second time I'm speaking in this forum. Happy to meet you all and just to share regarding our actual important in life, the climate change. Just last week, I went to Summer Safe. There was gathered about 30,000 people from almost 200 countries to talk regarding the climate change and what can we do if the climate changing continually, and what will be the crisis for the humanity as well. So on that occasion, I also have a chance to launch my books regarding the climate change and the Muslim world. I also an activist, maybe last these 2 decades, together with more other Muslim scholars, ulama, get-togethers, and also to participate in drafting team on the Islamic Declaration on Global Climate Change that launched in Istanbul 2015. So the declaration was presented to the Paris Agreement just before the Paris Agreement being signed. So it is very important to write a history regarding that. So that's why the books is telling also regarding the climate action, the climate change, and also slightly doing a research, actually particular research and practicalities, what Muslim world is doing, what the impact of the crisis, of the climate change, etc., etc. Allow me to share the presentation regarding it. The title I should share is the title of the book as requested by the committee, by the council, Last Generation, yeah, Muslim Action and Contribution in Immediate Impact Climate Change. The first, I would like to say that the climate is not news, new subject for us. In 1990s, in the Rio summit in 1992, there was an indication that the temperature of the planet are increasing. So last 40 years ago, the increase is being caused by the much of us need the energy coming from the coal, from fossil fuel, from the oil, and we burning the oil and we put that gas as we understand that the greenhouse gases, not only oil but also is methane, other oxidants, and nitrous oxidants, etc., etc., that being put in our atmosphere. The stabilizing atmosphere is very important, is crucial. Such is before 1990s, the indicator was, it was a very stable phenomenon of atmosphere. So there are not so many disaster weather problem that we face like today. I just asking Brother Chai at the beginning of this lecture that how many times are in UIA now the frequent of raining. In the Middle East, so frequent of raining. This happened also in the Middle East, in MENA region. Sometimes there's so many raining coming, but there is also anomaly when it comes to very hot. It's extremely hot. That had happened in last year in Makkah. The temperature increased up to 50 to 55, even 50. degrees Celsius. You cannot live like that in temperate countries. So that is why the climate is changing now. It's predictable by science. That is why every year there's a negotiation. There's a negotiation to find a way how we can mitigate or to reduce the climate impact and consumption of the energy from the fossil fuel. As well, we have to make a transition for the renewable energy, because we understand there have been millions of years the carbon is lying on the ground, and then we pump them, we put them on the sky. So that's why it may be it might make the imbalance of this atmosphere, because it's getting thicker and thicker, and then it's followed by also by the increase of the temperature. So is this now what we call not only climate change, but what we are at climate crisis. We call it in hashtag and some social media code red for humanity, climate emergency, whatever they say. So I quote the note from UNEP. They said that the concentration of greenhouse gases emission in the atmosphere is wreaking havoc across the world and threatening lives, economies, health, and food. The world is far from securing global temperature rise to below 2 degrees Celsius as promised in the Paris Agreement. But we pretend to halt our temperature, global temperature, to increase below 1.5. Because if it increased to 1.5 or 2, the disaster is much more frequent. Now we have 1.1 degrees Celsius average of the global temperature, actually 15 degrees Celsius only, the global. But however, if they are increasing 1 degree or 2 degree, it causes many changing in our atmospheric and climate situation. That is very important to halt it to below 1.5, according to Paris Agreement, or some are also, it is still secure to have 2 degrees, but since 1.1 now we can see that also have been a problem in our planet. So let's make an effort. The degree of the temperature of the global should be below 1.5 increasing. So I'm presenting here the principle of why they are debating on the emission. This is the principle of greenhouse effect. As we can see, our Earth is melted by atmosphere, but it's super important to keep our planet warm. However, if the sun radiating from the surface, they come, but they are also radiation back to the sky. However, also some of that staying in below the atmosphere, some of them back to the sky. But we should have this kind of atmosphere, ideal atmosphere we have. In 1990s, the baseline of atmosphere concentration at the atmosphere is 350 part per million in 1990s. But now, in 2021, now it increased the carbon dioxide equal to 400 ppm part per million. This means that if you have million part of the emission, the 350 was 1990 is carbon dioxide or the equivalent. But now in 2022, we have more gases, which is 400 ppm part per million. 1,400,000 is carbon dioxide concentration. So it's the danger of that. If we increasing the fossil fuel and emission, which is coming from this, what we doing in planet Earth, like from coal that using for electricity, transportation, industries, or palm industries. Palm industries can produce the methane actually, but also the burning of the forest. The country of like Indonesia, we need land. Sometimes they are an accident. They are extreme hot. They also exacerbated by the forest fire. And the hazard of forest fire sometimes can be only 1 month. It can be equal to 1 year's emission from the developed countries. So it is the danger things that we face in developing countries because we need land. We also cutting the trees. We burn the forest, for example, by accident, and of course we burning the emission and put that on the atmosphere. So that is why the negotiations should be happen every year. How then the developing countries can stop the developing countries cutting trees, for example, by carbon trading. So there's many mechanisms, to being initiated by the global dialogues. That is why the conference of parties is very important, being negotiated in order to find a way out from the fossil fuel and to find a better planet in the future. So this is the evidence that global mean temperature difference from 1850 to 900. But if you can see in this is all the analysis by NOAA, by GRA, by all these research institution that making analysis to the increase of temperature, which is in every year increasing. Now, like now in 2000, the increase more 1.1, I said 1.2 can be in 2025. So 3 more years, we might reach 1.2 degrees Celsius. So it's scary. If 1.1, it can be make flood in Middle East. That never happened before. Also, the burning of the forest, like in America, like in Australia in last 2000 before the COVID-19, 2018, about 300 kilometers and million of animals died because of the climate change and very, very hot. And it causes the burning of the forest, which is that's why very scary for us. And this kind of industry is still, being produced in the developed countries like in Europe and America. They're producing carbon from their industry. They're making car, they're making fabricated things that might polluted our atmosphere. But in developed countries like Indonesia, for example, we have problem with forest fire. So this is, for example, in 2015, CO2 emission increased to 1 billion ton, exceeding of German annual emission, according to research. So Indonesia not produce car, not produce any fabricated material to sell, but it also polluting the atmosphere from the greenhouse gas because of the burning of the forest. So that's why we had the developing countries. We are, of course, would like to help this by stopping the burning and making efficient. From the policy making, we have stopped the opening the land concession. Also, we have stopped the cutting trees concession. No more concession being permitted. We feel enough for that. So this is one of climate impact. That's as an illustration. Yesterday, there's a big flood in Jeddah. What is the importance of this?
هذه أماكن سيارة تسوي عينكم يا ساتر يا ساتر يا الله تعالى الله الله سيارة ثانية تسحب مشهد بصري سيارة تسحب كيف ما يدري أنا نعلق الله 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 يا ساتر يا ساتر يا ساتر يا الله من كثير التعليق يا الله والسيارات هناك أفلحة.
Yes, this is just an illustration. Saudi Arabia have a flood in Jeddah after 179 millimeter of rain in 6 hours. So it's very quite long rain that happened. That of course it's never happened before. And many countries in the Middle East, experience by many flood now. Not only flood, but the extreme weather. Last time I also mentioned in my books, there was a snow fall in Saudi Arabia. It is, you see the ball of ice, the spell in the surrounding Makkah, and people saw that. It is why it's like that. It's because the anomaly of the weather change, of the climate change. It's an effect of climate change. So things like this happen also just a few months ago in Pakistan, in Bangladesh, in Kalimantan, where my hometown, also might be last about 2 months. The flood very slow to shallow because of the forest cover was gone, and also the climate crisis. What happened in other Muslim countries? This is mentioned in my book also. There was a crisis of the caused by climate, making a long drought that causes the political problem as well, because there's difficulties for the people, like in Syria, in Yemen, in many other countries, because a long drought. So they come into the city and there's not sufficient food. So they will be protesting to the government. So in Syria, in case why the crisis, because also they are a long drought happened in some areas like Syria. And the climate chaos in the last 5 years, like I said at the beginning of this, coral bleaching, unusual temperature high in Alaska that caused the melting of the ice in the southern part of this planet. And this is to figure out that we have to find a way to handle this problem. That is why Mr. Antonio Guterres says that we are the last generation that can prevent irreparable damage to our planet. So this is crisis now. And he is also warned at that time, 2021, 2 years ago, that we have only 11 years. Up to now, we have only 9 or 10 years left to avert the catastrophe. So don't come the temperature increase to 1.5 or 2 degrees because it's very too dangerous for the planet. So if we evaluate for emission per capita, I just taking this from UNSDG indicator 2015 among Muslim countries. The most wealthy country is the most high emission per capita. For example, Qatar, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, and UAE, also Brunei, because they're using selling the oil. But Indonesia is 1.8. It's very small per capita. So it's directed inherit or embedded with the lifestyle, So it's inherent with lifestyle actually, the climate issue and the emission issue per capita. So if we can reduce a little bit, for example, or we can make a better exchange within countries. For example, Qatar, if they have very high emission, they should keep the balance for the per capita for other countries. For example, by offsetting their carbon by planting trees in Indonesia, for example, or by preventing people of Indonesia selling their forests by cutting them and buy the carbon credit. That's the idea of the carbon exchange and carbon credit. Yes, one important thing of this issue of climate change, of course, also mentioned regarding our Islamic teaching regarding the balance. In Quran, we find in Surah Ar-Rahman about mizan. Was-sama'a wa rafa'aha wa wada'al mizan. Allah taghaw fil mizan. And God, set the sky, increases the sky and put mizan. So he's talking about the sky. And God created the earth in perfect equilibrium or mizan. By his immense mercy, we have been given fertile land, precious air, clean water, all good things on earth that make our life here peaceful and delightful. The Earth functions in natural seasonal rhythm and cycles. Climate in which a living being, including human, thrive. The present climate change catastrophe is a result of human disruption of this balance. So in Quran, Surah Ar-Rahman, ayat 3 and 4, wasama wa mizan is being quoted. Is quoted in Islamic Declaration on Global Climate Change. It's also being that's in my book as an appendix. You can read that later. And finally, I will share you the link of the book that you can read that from there. It is electronic file. So Islamic Declaration on Global Climate Change say that to tackle habit, mindset, and the root causes of climate change, environmental degradation, and the loss of biodiversity in their particular spheres of influence, following the example of the Prophet Muhammad, peace blessed be upon him, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and bring about resolution to the challenge that now facing us. Just to quote a little bit regarding the Islam Declaration, it's available online. You can see it. You can download it if you want to. So one of the most crucial thing regarding the climate is the food stock. If we understand that there is scarcity in water, so the food can be also might be destroyed. So this is from Lancet Commission 2022 said that without action, the world risks failing to meet the UN Sustainable Development Goal or Paris Agreement, and today children will inherit planet that has been severely degraded and where mass population will increasingly suffer from malnutrition and preventable disease. So by the increasing of the planet temperature, the calamity, the disaster is also increased. This one illustration of a mosque because of abrasion and the increase of sea level in West Java. This is according to my survey in the book. This mosque, because in the archipelago island, many mosques was established, just in front of the sea. This mosque was 2 kilometers in 2020, 2005. So by 15 years, it now, just next to the sea. So when the water are deep, and when the Jum'ah time coming, if the water is deep, they cannot pray Jum'ah of this mosque. So this was not like this before. So because of the increasing of the climate and also the melting, it's also impact to the sea wave as well the degradation of the water surface. This is in one of the Muslim countries. If you know, it is called Maldives. This is the first Muslim countries, as Maldives is one of the Muslim OIC member. This is only one meter from the sea. So in 2015, the president of this Maldives, making surprise, they had the press conference below the water because they will be the first nation with only about 200,000 population, but they are Muslim. they will be drawn to by, because affected by the climate change, they may get to migrate to other island. So is the one of the problem is being predicted by science. Of course, is the red one is biodiversity and also the climate change at this side, and also the nitrogen cycle. This is an RLC. An RLC in Kyrgyzstan, which is in the middle, in the part of Russia before. And this sea, because of evaporation in the Mediterranean, it is now shallow like this. It's mentioned in my book as well. This is the Indonesian, because of 2015, we have a long drought. It cannot be solved, and people come to the field for praying like this. Just a moment after the praying, however, during the praying, the raining comes. So we have to, we have dua, we have to pray also. Very important to pray as a Muslim, as promises by the Prophet. If they are long drought, you should go to the field and you should make praying for the raining, in order to ask God help. Or salat al-istisqa. One thing that's very important to mention, that in 2019 there have been adopted as strategy for activation of cultural and religious goals toward protection for environment and achievement of sustainable development. So this technocratic document, I was participated broadly to also design together with other scholars, and we promote, of course, what we have, the modalities in hand. We back to the Quran, the Sunnah and tradition. We have the masjid, we have the ulama leader, where we have to green our heart, and we have financial instrument that can be used for the climate change action as well, climate change adaptation and mitigation. This is the group of scholars that are in Istanbul to declare Islamic Declaration on Global Climate Change. And you can also have 9 languages of the Islamic Declaration of Global Climate Change. It's been translated in Arabic, in Urdu, and Malay, in Indonesia, and also English, of course. Indonesia, for example, this is the case that Indonesia have contributed to 2 fatwas regarding the climate change and biodiversity. One fatwa is protecting a wildlife for the balance of ecosystem in order to stop the illegal wildlife trade, that causes the catching and hunting the animal, that their function is very important in the tropical forest. For example, the orangutan, for example, the hornbill, they are spreaded the seedlings, so without human intervention, they can spread the seed by themselves every day of their life. And also the fatwa of the law of burning land and forest. So now by 2016, the ulama are prohibited for burning the land and forest or unpurposed thing. We have 7 fatwas regarding the environment from Indonesia. Of course, through working together with Islamic Council, Indonesian Council of Ulama. And we also participated, particularly Universitas Nasional. We participating in dissemination to empower the clerics, the imam, the grassroots imam. We train hundreds of Imam at the grassroots level to disseminate the fatwas. Very important, because we just disseminate from the central, like in Java or Jakarta. They are not here. So we need to disseminate to hundreds of mosques and thousands. We have 800,000 mosques in Indonesia. So there's a many challenges of the program. Also, the government have make a focus on the climate change by stopping the land burning of the forest. Also make a program on climate action, of course, through the government program, NDC and everything. So what can we take from our side of practical individual life for the climate? I put here our religions have, of course, have been teaching very good model, such as Khalifah Umar in Khathab, in sense of crisis. For example, use your land, grow yourself, or like home gardening. Start from institution. You have mosque, you have madrasah, you have pesantren, you have wakaf land. Wakaf land, we have several wakaf land here in Indonesia where the wakaf can also a place for planting trees, because if you want to plant trees, for a charity, you don't know where the lands, and there's no certainty that the land that you plant the trees are safe from the disturbing of many problems. So you need wakaf. You need to walk up and plant the trees, and so it will be forever there. It's both for the animal, for the human, for the carbon cycle, for the oxygen, and everything. Start from himself, role model. Umar ibn Khattab committed not consume meat and cheese during the government because of sense of justice. If I can imagine, rich wealth countries in the MENA, in Middle East also can be help the African brother and sister, for example, to make a justice. And also confession, very important. We have a taubat, a sense of praying. Every day, of course, we need to pray to Allah, as figured out by these people from Riyadh for their prayer for God, because they know more way to find, because at that time the drought is very long. We even use technology doesn't work. Only rain can be function at that time. Last but not least, this is the books that translated in Arabic, Al-Ajil Al-Akhir, last generation. It was coming from Bahasa Indonesia and translated. You can just type last generation, Fakhruddin, Maunjaya. You have here one for Earth, last generation. You can find it, just download it. It is free. It's sadaqah for you. And it's happy to share you about this knowledge together with the Ummah. This is my contact. Can share you later on this slide if you want to. Thank you very much. Alhamdulillah, this is my presentation. Hopefully it's fruitful and we make a discussion. Thank you, Dr. Chai.
Thank you very much, Dr. Fakhruddin, for this wonderful presentation on Muslims' action and contribution to mitigate the impact of climate change. I'm impressed by your wide knowledge of from bioscience to climate change and to Islamic ethics. So we really benefit from your insight and your experience in particular. your actions and your participation in many of this climate change, especially in Muslim communities or countries. We do have two questions here. One of question is that you mentioned that there's urgency or crisis of climate change in Middle Eastern countries, in Muslim countries in particular. I assume that it's not only just unique for Muslims or for Muslim countries. It's our common earth, right? It's our common earth. So what the action or policy or response should Muslim as a whole can do to mitigate this impact on Muslim countries? Yes, for their own countries first, like you mentioned, Syria or Maldives, yeah, maybe also other countries. So I want to hear a bit more detailed, like what's the purpose of when we see Muslims action or Islamic perspective on this? Is it something unique than with other perspective actions? For example, we can say Christian perspective, Christian actions, or we don't see it. It's like it's for whole humanity. Maybe this also goes to your own research or your own research agenda. Like, what's the unique of Muslim action contribution or Islamic perspective on climate change? Is it something different from other religions or other communities, or it's the same?
Thank you very much. Yes, of course, Islam have very clear message on the life itself, because God suggests us about the maintaining of this earth as an amana. An amana. Inna aradna al-amanata ala samawati wal ardi wal jibal wa bainaha wa asfaqna minha wa hamalaha al-insan. God giving amana to al-ard, to the earth, to the sea, to the mountain, but they are rejected the amana, the amana, and then it accepted by human. So by keeping this amana, we should be very careful about the amana, and we should keep that as sustainable as possible. Make it. If you, for example, borrow things from someone, just borrow, you should then return back what you borrow in a proper manner or in a good condition, right? So that's why this amana is very important principle in Islam. Secondly, our Khalifatullah fil ard, we have akal, we have very clear teaching regarding the balance, the mizan, and we were suggested not to extravagance, not spoil the resources, so make it balanced. So that's why in climate dialogue we also talking regarding the justice. For example, the result of last dialogue, the COP27, was meaningful regarding the loss and damage. Why they happen? The developed countries have to provide fund for the poor countries, because they have very low emission. But the rich countries, they have production, they have very rich, and they should divide to help the poor for the balance, for the justice. So this is the principle. It's coming also in Islam. We also suggested to have an Islamic finance, with zakat, with wakaf, and etc. etc. We also have a unique way to solve. For example, to mainstreaming the fatwas. Get together with the ulama, to supervise the communities to stop. It's not sufficient for science, but the community stay away, not involved. This is about human. Science is sufficient, but there's not sufficient if they are not practical for human beings. So the religious group is very important to get involved with the heart and mind of the people. So it's regarding the behavior change of the people. So how we understand by consciousness to keep this planet. For example, your lifestyle. You might have to choose whether you use your own car or public transport. So public transport will be ideal for, it's more justice because low carbon emission and we use together and we have togetherness, other than we use our private car, which is maybe burning the fossil fuel, more emission and more carbon emission that contributes to the planet. So that is parallel. So in Islam, what we call the inherently environment. If we're talking about Islam, it is inherently environment. It can be separated. For example, we need water, right? We need water. We need clean earth. We need to pray for God. So the earth surface is masajid. So whenever you are walking in the masajid of God, so you are Khalifah.
Yes, thank you very much for this great answer. Yes, I think that our audience and viewers of today also learned we can take this advice or the Islamic ethical requirement from you or from your research to guide their action to contribute to the mediating climate change impact. Another question is, as we are entering, we 2023 very soon. Next year, I think, inshallah, the COP28 will be held in another Middle Eastern and Muslim country, the United Arab Emirates. And our council, the Muslim Communities Council, is also based in this country. I was wondering, either as a government of the UAE or as an international organization, as the Muslim Community Council, what they can do, to make use of this opportunity, COP28 next year, to make some contribution or make some activities to mitigate the impact of climate change.
Should be a long story. I don't know how to say.
Just make it short.
But actually, if we're talking about regarding the opportunity, of course, there's so many opportunity, and I believe the ulama is taking role model in many Muslim countries. I wish the leaders or the ulama get together, make a strong commitment to supervise the Muslim Ummah for their action. For example, starting from their masjid, solarizing the masjid, solarizing the Masjidil Haram, solarizing the zero emission for the Medina cities, or solarizing like what you have a Masdar city in UAE, right? So it can be a model, and I believe that it's very, very their intention to make a transition, even difficult. However, technology also can be solved. I understand that it's very difficult for the Middle Eastern countries which is dependable to the oil. It's a really challenge for them, to shift the transition. However, we cannot avoid from this issue of the planet because it's against the morality, of course. If we stay in burning and the temperature are increasing, how we can live better in the future? Even the investment, we have to adapt. We have to mitigate. I believe there's we have humanity can find the way to tackle these climate issues. It's very difficult, very hard time for us. We don't have much time for this transition. Of course, we are in myself. For example, I'm focusing for youth people, for young people. In madrasa, we have eco pesantren program, eco madrasa program, to make them connect with what we are doing now, because we are will lab, and they will continue on what we are doing with the better things.
Yes. I think it is indeed candid examples and advice you give that either countries or communities or even individuals, Muslims or non-Muslims, can all do our own part. Start from our behavior, starting creating awareness, and starting to mitigating this impact of climate change. So with this, we thank Dr. Fakhruddin to give this wonderful lecture and questions. And we hope to see you in the future. And hopefully we can see you at COP28 or earlier.
Inshallah. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Fakhruddin.
Ready to come, inshallah. We make a program there.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Recording stopped.